Member Perea, do we have communications with you? And Virginia Valentine?
This is Gary Paree. Can you hear me?
Yep, we got you. Oh, there's Virginia. Is that somebody else online? On the phone?
Yeah, this is Stavros Anthony on the phone. Or on video, whatever it is.
Mr. Matthews, Lepre, can you hear us?
Yeah, we can hear you in Carson.
You guys ready to go?
Yep.
Hey, Virginia. All right, well, let's kick it off. Everybody's ready to go. We'll kick off the Nevada Department of Transportation Board of Directors meeting scheduled for today, August 12th, 2024 at 9:30 a.m. And we will start with the roll call.
Morning, Governor, and good morning, board members. Governor Joe Lombardo.
Present.
Lieutenant Governor Stavros Anthony.
Here.
Controller Andy Matthews.
Here.
Member Virginia Valentine.
Here.
Member Frank Lepre.
Here.
Member Justin Kelb. Member Gary Perea.
Here.
Governor, you have a quorum.
Did we get a response from Gary?
We did, yes.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to agenda item number 2, the first opportunity for public comment. Public comment may be provided in person or by calling 775-888-7440. The call will be placed in a queue and the caller will be notified of their turn for comment. The first public comment is limited to comments on items on the agenda. No action may be taken upon a matter raised under public comment period unless the matter itself has been specifically included on an agenda as an action item. I will impose a limit of 3 minutes. Do we have any public comment there in Carson City?
Not at this time, Governor.
We have any public comment here in Las Vegas? Seeing none. Do we have anybody on the phone or online?
No.
All right, we will close the first opportunity for public comment. Move on to number 3 and receive the director's report.
All right, thank you.
Ms. Larkin.
All right, next slide, please. So NDOT held its very first Rural Traffic Safety Summit. We've held annual traffic safety summits for many years in Las Vegas and Reno, but this is the very first safety summit that's focused particularly on rural safety needs and coordination. So the summit brought law enforcement and other public safety partners together to train and discuss strategies to save lives on Nevada roads, and included sessions on combating impaired driving and excessive speed, safety for vulnerable road users, bicyclists, motorcyclists, and pedestrians, specific safety concerns on rural roads, and local emergency responders who also trained together during a simulated multi-vehicle crash, including ambulance and an electric vehicle. Very pertinent these days. Could we go to the next slide and would you play that?
Right now, wrapping up the first Rural Traffic Safety Summit. We had a number of sessions talking about everything from impaired driving to safe speeds to vulnerable road users. How do we deploy traffic safety interventions in our rural communities? This effort was led by the DOT, but it could not have been done without our partners at the Office of Traffic Safety, Public Health, law enforcement. Everybody here came together using a safe systems approach to reduce fatal and serious injury crashes, sharing our best practices and learning how to collaborate with each other.
There's a lot less first responders in the rural areas, particularly in rural Nevada. If you look at a map, hundreds of road miles with very few towns or resources involved.
The rural areas, we have limited access to a lot of opportunities like bigger cities do. So anytime we can get our hands on the equipment, make access to patients that are trapped and have some real life stress, so to speak, and get them the training that they need to get better at what they're doing. Today we're going to practice especially getting our crews on scene and then stabilizing vehicles, making sure that everybody's out from the vehicles, and then also triage, treatment, and transport. Making access to patients. We have a rollover vehicle that we need to get access to, so we'll be going into kind of a vicarious situation where the vehicle's on their side.
Only 6% of Nevada's populations live in rural areas. However, 28% of fatal and serious injury crashes happen in rural areas.
That's alarming. So bringing this to hands-on to the people who are going to be responding and informing the roadway system is critical to reducing our fatal and serious injury problem. These are our law enforcement officers. These are our first responders. These are our firemen, our EMT, EMS, and sometimes our NDOT workers. It is critically important that if you come out in a crash or even a regular work zone, that you slow down and move over to give these people space.
When we had an impaired driver crash into the back of a ambulance, another first responder, it just complicates the situation. It causes more injuries, not only to the drunk driver, but also to the medical, the first responders, and the patients that they were already working on. Move over, slow down.
Traffic safety and reducing the fatal and serious injury crashes on Nevada's roadway network takes each and every one of us.
It's common courtesy and common sense to slow down and move over when you see any sort of lights flashing, whether they be amber, red, or blue. You have to slow down.
The majority of our fatals have been passing in a no passing zone, or falling asleep, which we get a lot of in Nevada. There are a lot more rest stops thanks to NDOT. Put a lot more rest stops out there, which has helped.
I think it was a fantastic summit. Like I said, it's the first one that I know of that's taken place in the rules.
Special thanks to the DOT, the people, the towing companies that were involved. Like, everybody came together. It was amazing.
Ultimately, it comes down to improving road safety for all of us in any capacity. And I think we accomplished that here today.
I just want to give a really big shout out to Leslie Tisler, our chief traffic engineer, and everyone who helped put that together. It really was a good job. Well done. The I-15 Tropicana project, we recently completed 2 marathon work weekends with directional closures of I-15. We did complete open grading from the 215 to Warm Springs as planned, but were unable to finish some of the paving due to a supply chain issue, in which case we were not able to get the full amount of rubberized pavement that we had planned on. So we will have to again close it at a later date, but we will we'll focus on night work to reduce travel impacts. However, the full closure was needed in order to install active traffic management signs and place the girders for the Tropicana Bridge. But it is coming along and the project remains on schedule. Next slide. US 395 in Gardnerville. We substantially completed the reconstruction of US 395 through downtown Gardnerville. And we placed 18,000 tons of new asphalt, added electronic crossing signs, enhanced drainage, underground conduit lines, and lighting. And we certainly thank the commuters for their patience as they did without one lane in each direction for the past summer. US 395 northbound, the Dandini Ram closure. An update on our US 395 North Valleys. The closure began on July 8th on the northbound US 395. On and off ramp to Dandini Boulevard is closed through mid-September. We are slightly raising the ramp elevation, realigning where the off-ramp enters Dandini Boulevard, and this is primarily for better visibility for the turn here. There was a limited visibility before, creating a safety issue. So overall, this will widen and repave approximately 4 miles between North McCarran and Golden Valley. I-15 US 95 Charleston ribbon cutting. This we celebrated hosted on Wednesday, August 7th, the substantial completion of the I-515 Charleston Boulevard. Lieutenant Governor Anthony, the City of Las Vegas, Clark County RTC, and other representatives attended. We added capacity and improved the traffic operations and safety for both Charleston Boulevard and I-15. And this was started, we really had great partners with the City of Las Vegas and Clark County. As a matter of fact, they did part of the planning and the actual design of the interchange with us. And for the first time in, it seems like many, many years, this actually started before I left the department and was still finishing up now, but you could actually freely turn in all directions. So that was pretty cool. And Virginia, you were there, and I want to thank you. They were really pleased to see you. We widened and reconstructed Charleston Boulevard from Honolulu Street to Sacramento Drive, increased the number and length of turn lanes from Charleston Boulevard to I-515 ramps and vice versa, constructed wider and upgraded the sidewalk ramps to adhere to the right-of-way accessibility guidelines. So again, thanks to our partners and a job well done to everyone. Now, also on this one, we do partnering awards. So NDOT does partnering awards. We have been running a partnering program for about 15 years. It actually has saved us a lot of headaches over the years by actually having the contractor and the NDOT team sit down on a regular basis, go through the upcoming issues, work through lines of, as you have the chain of command and the ladder where you take issues to. So it really anyway, the Gold Award this year went to the project team for that 515 Charleston Boulevard, and that was Crew 915, NDOT District 1, AECom, TQRC, and Granite Construction. We also had several projects in Northern Nevada that received the Silver Award. That was the resurfacing of U-95 from Fallon to Trinity near I-80, and that was Crew 904, District 2, A&K Earth Movers, Granite Construction, CME, HDR, and Tailor Made Solutions. And the Bronze Award, 2 Bronze Awards went to I-80 Lockwood ramp improvements, widening the existing on-ramp to lengthen the acceleration line. And those recipients were NDOT Crew 905, District 2, and Granite Construction. And also the emergency roadside erosion repairs on SR 341 and SR 342 near Virginia City. And that was Crew 911, District 2, and Granite. These just really help highlight some of the collaboration between the contractors and the NDOT teams. Next, I just want to do a follow-up. In April, Congressman Amade was here and asked for several assistance in several different areas with Union Pacific. So I just want to do a follow-up, and I also want to acknowledge that while NDOT played a part, it was the Congressman's own actions that accomplished a great deal of this. But the weeds and the parking in Carlin, the weeds have been completed, and the UP also changed their operations so that they no longer stop on 10th Street, which allows free access across the railroad. The City of Elko property easement request, we've been checking in with the county and the city for a while, and we are keeping tabs with the city manager. As you see on the bottom, they are currently in negotiations to purchase the vacated railroad property. So that one's online. Next slide. And then also for the homeless concerns in Reno, UP is committed to monthly cleanups in collaboration with the city, and they meet quarterly with the city. We did follow up with the sheriff's department there, and Washoe County Lieutenant Daniel was actively providing the needed support for the homeless abatements alongside the UP Railroad. They have a memorandum of understanding with UP, and UP is doing the monthly cleanups, and they're also working along with NDOT at the right-of-way in the Sparks area. Next slide. I just want to say,
Hey, Keith, go back.
I'm sorry.
Can you expand on number 4?
Oh, the Sparks Machine Shop building. That was something the machine shop, City of Sparks wanted to take that over, but it was determined that it really is structurally unsound and UP is going to have it torn down. And then the Wendover switches that were also asked, well, those happen to be in Utah, so it's outside of our jurisdiction to follow up on. And then the last one is, in the last couple of months, I was also able to meet with the new CEO of Union Pacific, Beth Whited. And there definitely does seem to be a change in, at least for now, the accessibility and the response with them. And we are working with UPRR for NDOT to actually sit down with them for a planning exercise along Northern Nevada, along the UP Railroad, and see if there's other areas where we could jointly go in on grants. The NDOT, NDOT has to submit grants for them, but there may be opportunities for maybe additional sidings, maybe some double tracking or improvements to crossing along the way. So that is currently, we're just in the middle of scheduling, but that would be sometime in September. And then on the last part is also RTC Washoe has an RFP out, and they are looking at for commuter train from the city of Reno out to Trick to see if that can help ease some of the congestion on I-80 there. And we are working with them on that. And then next, I just really kind of want to highlight, as we talk about emergency closures and we're kind of highlighting the lack of resiliency in our system, but really the lack of redundancy in our system. And this, you'll see on the next slide too, with the current events. This happened on July 26th to 28th, where a truck carrying, please go back one. Where a truck carrying a load of lithium batteries overturned and caught fire. Lithium batteries is a hazardous substance and must be taken care of. That's very contained depending on when it gets damaged. It's got a lot of energy in there and can cause explosions. So it created huge backup. I-80 northbound was closed for 48 hours coming into Las Vegas. There's very little other side ones. You can go down on US 40 and over
I-80 or I-15?
I'm sorry, this one's I-15. I'm sorry if I said I-80. It can go down to US 40 into Arizona and then up through Searchlight, but it's a very small 2-lane highway that goes through there. The resources there for that amount of traffic that was diverted were rapidly used up. So there's a lot of care flights in to take care of people who had heat issues. And also then both California and Arizona went out to provide gas to get people actually who had run out of gas, and then also to get some charges to the EVs that were lost. So with this in mind, while we certainly building another interstate is not in our immediate future, we have been in contact with the Secretary of Transportation in California talks, and also the Caltrans director. And I have a meeting with them this afternoon just to go kind of a debrief on it. And then also we'll be looking at how we can better coordinate really just the emergency operations between the two. We do have a very active traffic operations center in FAST down here in Las Vegas. They were in constant communication with San Bernardino Road Operations Center. But again, we're looking to enhance how we can operate across jurisdictional boundaries, specifically across state lines. And we've reached out to the National Governors Association and to our US DOT contacts to see if there is any funding more for training, one on the hazmat portion, but also if there's a way we can partner with other national sectors like the Department of Emergency Management or FEMA or Department of Defense or other sectors anyway, to see if there's ways that we can beef up our transportation system or operations to better support them. It's not really about a better road. It's like, how can we better coordinate the operations in general to make it smoother? And the governor's office and your platforms were instrumental in getting some of the messaging out to, there were people to get phone numbers out where people in the cars could call if they needed assistance and all that. So now we're going to go to the next one, which really makes this is what's going on. These are pictures from last night along I-80. Eastbound I-80 was closed for several hours last night, and it's down to 1 lane right now. This is just south of the I-80 there, about exit 2 and 3 in the Verdi area. We're watching it very closely and monitoring traffic very closely. A lot has been diverted down through 267 on the California side, which goes down towards Lake Tahoe. Again, it's really looking at the coordination between both states, our operations centers, and the response team. So NDOT crews have been out since about late last evening. They're still on site today. And I know the governor, you just received an update shortly ago where we're really watching the winds to see where things go this morning. But again, it comes down into really enhancing how we talk to the other states. I have been in touch with both Arizona and Utah, and along with California, and all four in on meeting and seeing what we can do to enhance operations. And then And the last one is just kind of keeping an update on some of the vacancies. We are definitely making progress, but we are looking in, we've gone from 20, we're now down to a little under 18%. These are the amount of hires that come in, but we do have separation. So sometimes retirement, sometimes transfers to other agencies, but we're just kind of following the trends to see where we can uh, find better ways to retain people, not only to bring them on board, but to retain them. So in the next one of the things we've been noticing is particularly we're doing very well in the maintenance areas, and certainly your executive order has helped in the urban areas. We're having a large problem still in the center of the state, Tonopah, and out to the Ely area with getting professionals, the PEs, the engineers, but also even the maintenance there. There you'll see a much higher percentage of vacancies. A lot of that is competing with mining and lack of housing. So we're looking at if there's ways like even setting up some uh, trailer hookup or something like that where we could use on our properties there to provide some employee housing. And then the very last slide is really just the same thing, just kind of showing the percentages in each area. Again, you can see, but overall, we are trending in the right direction, a little concerned in the center of the state. That concludes my report. Any questions?
We have any member questions?
Governor, I have a couple of comments on the I-15 and that the battery fire that happened there. It's great to hear that you're coordinating because I think it is 48 hours seems like a really long time for what happened. And I mean, Billy could probably go out there and grade a bypass in an hour and a half or something. But I do think you need to include some of the San Bernardino and Clark County responders in that. Maybe even UP if there's a way that somebody could have gotten a crane down there quicker. Or even if there is a way operationally to, in some places, you might be able to divert the part of I-15 that was still drivable to have it go one way for a while. I mean, you could platoon vehicles back and forth if you needed to. So I think you could probably come up with a way working with some of the county public works, county first responders, maybe UP. I'm really glad to hear you're doing that because I think it's a matter of time before it happens again. And, you've got something going on I-80 now. So I think there does need to be some creative thinking about what you can do because there are no incident management lanes really down there. And I mean, safety is a big concern to others. And would hope we'd hear more from California about this because they have, and we think of that as the lifeline to Las Vegas and tourists traveling it, but so much commerce goes on there from California. You have, all the agriculture, you have two big ports down there who are trying to ship to the north. I mean, I think there's a bigger economic impact to California. So I would hope they'd be really super helpful and cooperative and just planning for something else like that because I think it's just a matter of time before it happens again.
The directors have been very open and very open to us getting together. Like I said, I have a meeting with them this afternoon, and they will also be in the state, provided things go well with the fire, later this week for the Tahoe Summit, in which case we'll meet in person. We plan on meeting.
Scenario,
But then they did look at the crossovers.
Yeah.
I don't know the geography well enough there, the topography, but they said that was just not able to get them over because that was one of the first things we asked. But also to provide some joint training to everyone on as we have more EVs and more of batteries and stuff out on the roadway, better ways to actually handle them when they're just being shipped, how to handle them when events like this come up. Your points are well taken. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Andy Matthews, just following up on that same topic that member Valentine brought up. Yeah, Director, you mentioned you're going to be meeting with the Caltrans director, I think this afternoon. I think it'd be really helpful to going forward, keep us in a loop on how that conversation and other related conversations go on this. So really, really appreciate the update on that. Thank you.
All right. There are no further questions. We will move on to agenda item number 4, consideration of approval of the June 10th, 2024 Nevada Department of Transportation Board of Directors meeting minutes for possible actions. Any questions or concerns from any members? If not, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
I'm going to make a motion to approve the minutes.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second. Oh,
Who provided the second?
Frank.
Frank? All right, we have a motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any against?
Aye.
Any against? Nay. Hearing none, motion passes. We will move to agenda item number 5, consideration of approval of the July 16th, 2024 Nevada Department of Transportation Board of Directors meeting minutes for possible action. Do we have any questions or concerns from any members?
Yes, Governor, this is Gary Perea.
Go ahead, sir.
It appears the copy that I have in our packet, it seems like there's some typo on the first page when Lieutenant Governor called the meeting to order. It says June 16th. That should be July 16th.
Correct. That's been updated. Oh, hold on. Are you talking about on the actual agenda or in the narrative, Gary?
In the narrative.
Let's see.
All right. Any other comments?
I also think that on page 3, there's a section missing. It seems like it's incomplete. It doesn't go over who voted for that item on item number 5. I'm sorry. Yeah. Item number 3. I'm sorry. Item number 3. Just above the public comment, there's an area there where there was never a motion. It's not describing the motion and the vote.
Yeah, that.
Governor, obviously an oversight on ours, but if we bring this to not make a motion, we'll bring back these minutes, corrected minutes to the next bill.
All right. Did everybody hear that?
Yeah.
We'll take it under consideration at the next board meeting for approval. And hope if there's any further identified issues, please let us know, Gary.
That was all I had. Thank you.
Okay. Well, do we want to just go ahead and prove it with those identified issues?
My only suggestion is move. I guess that would be okay because it was a very short meeting. The only thing it really was the vote.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes with those contingent upon those corrections being made as noted by Member Perea.
Okay.
I'll second that.
We have a motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any against? Nay. Hearing none, motion passes. I said aye, right? Yeah. Aye. All right, we will move on to section 2 of the consent agenda, reference items 6 through 7 and 8. Do we have any questions or concerns from any members, or would you like to hear an item separately? If not, we will take it as one item. All right, hearing none. So we'll take it as take a motion for approval for the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda items 6 through 8.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Andy Matthews, second.
Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any against? Nay. Motion passes. Move on to, we don't have a section 3, section 4. Additional business items, item number 9, consideration of approval to revise the transportation board matrix for possible action. Ms. Larkin.
The Transportation Board Matrix actually is here, and it just documents the reporting practices for NDOT, what needs to go before the board, what needs to go before the Board of Examiners, etc. We really wanted to bring this back here. When we changed the signature authority back in November of last year, there was a couple of conflicting statements in the approvals where it would said like 10 million above or 10 million and below 40 million above, 40 million. So it was just clarifying exactly which side that penny was on. So back in we wanted to make sure that it was very clear of the history of this in September of 23rd. That's when they approved the matrix. And March, the matrix was updated to include service-based university. July of 2019, the passage of AB 7 no longer required the railroad, urban, and public transportation aviation agreements to be boarded by that. And then in November of 2023, with the signature authority, and it's just confirming exactly line by line. You should have a copy of, each of you should have seen 2 copies when you were briefed. One was the line by line where you could see the changes, and that is also here at the board. You can start going through the next couple of slides. I don't plan on reading out each item. But happy to take any questions on everyone here. We're showing here, this is the line by line changes going through, and then we also provided the cleaned up copy, just basically where we accepted the changes. I'm happy to answer any questions on any item, but do you have any specific questions? It really was, the main part is that the end of it is that I can sign up to $10 million. So $10 million and anything under $10 million for agreements. So at $10 million and 1 penny, it goes before the board. For $40 million for contracts, I can sign $40 million and under. Anything over $40 million goes before the board. And then, of course, there are some other ones in there, all right away disposals go before the board. Any alternate method, alternate delivery projects go before the board, with the exception on there that if it's up to $10 million, it still falls. That just didn't change on there, but it really rarely happens. Is there any question on any of this?
Do you have any member questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve the matrix.
Yeah. Do we have a second?
Second,
Gary
Andy
Curry,
Matthews.
I'll second.
So did you copy that? You could choose between Matthews or Perea as the second. So we have a motion for approval. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any against, nay? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you for that, Ms. Larkin. All right, we'll move on to agenda item number 10, receive information on the draft fiscal year 2025 annual work program and 2024 through 2028 statewide transportation improvement program, STIP adoption. It's an informational only item.
Governor, the Assistant Director of Planning, Rebecca Capular, will present this. This has just been going through the process. The actual annual work program will be coming before the board in September to be approved, but this just explains how it is put together.
Thank you, Director. Good morning. Thank you for allowing me to present this to you today. This slide might look familiar to you because the One Nevada plan was brought before the board in the spring. The purpose is to have a project prioritization process at all stages of the performance-based planning process. The current STIP prioritization requires collecting a project list of both programmed projects as well as projects that are not programmed. The goal of the mid-range is to better establish a program outside of the STIP and work program. I'm not going to go into detail on the slide since you should be familiar with it, but if you have questions at the end, we can always go back and readdress it. The One Nevada plan received approval in 2018 and was vetted through an extensive outreach campaign and aligns with the Federal Highway Administration's goals and objectives. NDOT is required to have a statewide transportation improvement program known as the STIP and a work program known as AWP. The STIP is a 4-year fiscally constrained plan of projects. These projects are part of the One Nevada process, and this document is amended and reviewed constantly. The STIP and work program covers the federal fiscal years 25 through 28, and the 155 projects that were evaluated are NDOT-led surface transportation projects. Project prioritization is the first step and is based on the 6 goal areas within the 17 different criteria to help measure those goals of the One Nevada Plan. And just to refresh your memory, the 6 One Nevada Plan goals are enhancing safety, preserve infrastructure, optimize mobility, transform economies, foster sustainability, and connect communities. Projects are then evaluated against these criteria and then normalized utilizing costs that give us a ranked list. After prioritization, harmonization comes into play. Say that 3 times fast. Harmonization also allows NDOT leaders to address other factors not considered in the prioritization. Projects in the list without ranks are programmatic in nature and came in after the deadline of the prioritization process. This ranked list informs NDOT leaders how to helps us harmonize the project listing. Funding is based on the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, known as IIJA, and NDOT receives the federal funds noted on this slide. State funding is based on the State Highway Fund, and IIJA is expected to expire in the federal fiscal year 2026. There's a few things I want to note on this slide, one being that the federal fiscal year 24 funding is carried forward, and this includes some grant funding. And the anticipated state funding only includes funding for project costs. And lastly, the federal fiscal year 2027 and 28 years are projected funding amounts that depend on the new federal transportation bill. And sometimes we don't get a bill and we have continued resolutions for those. This slide shows the additional federal funding that goes directly to the metropolitan planning organizations known as the MPOs. CMAQ funding, congestion mitigation and air quality improvement funding, is distributed 80% to Clark and 20% to Washoe. The Tahoe area is a little unique because it has a special designation through the FAST Act, and it isn't over a 200,000 population, but includes 2 large MPOs, and the majority of the funding for that area comes from California side. The statewide Transportation Improvement Program captures all federally funded and regionally significant projects. Typically, this is adopted every other year with a major amendment on the off year. This year, we're asking for adoption, and we will be back, as Director Larkin mentioned, in September for the vote on that. The annual work program consists of the NDOT-led projects within the first year of the STIP, as well as fully state-funded or state force projects in the first year of the work program. We are currently in our public comment period, and that just opened on August 6th, and it will close on September 6th. And anybody who's watching this or any members of the public who want to make a public comment are welcome to do so by going to our website, which is www.dot.nv.gov. And once you're on the website, you just select project and programs and then proposed transportation projects, and you can make a public comment there. This slide highlights some of the projects that are in the planning and environmental phases, known as NEPA, which is the National Environmental Policy Act. These efforts will affect the future STIP and work program. We are always developing different levels of planning studies in order to continue to understand what projects will be a part of both the STIP and work program. And this is my last slide, and it shows the planned obligation by year. So in summary, the blue on the bottom of the slide are the betterments or the maintenance. These are typically state funds and are completed at district levels. The orange is the preservation, which are bigger betterments, and basically or typically those are federal dollars, and that is right there in the middle. And last is the gray, which is everything else, and that's typically the capacity, capital, safety, and programs like that. So with that, that summarizes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions or invite some of our subject matter experts up here to help if you have anything in detail.
All right, do we have any member questions of Ms. Capular? All right, hearing none. Well, thank you, Rebecca. Appreciate the presentation.
Thank you.
We will see you in September.
You will.
All right, we'll move on to agenda item number 11, contracts, agreements, settlements, and judgments. Ms. Larkin.
That's just a list of the contracts and agreements that I signed over the past month. If there are any questions.
Do we have any member questions on agenda item number 11? All right, hearing none, we will close item 11. I believe there is no items for agenda item number 12.
That is correct. That is correct.
And we'll move on to the second opportunity for public comment. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Is there any public comment there in Carson City?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Good morning, Governor. This is Elizabeth Learnhardt, Zephyr Cove. I'm commenting on the Highway 50 project since NDOT has published the final proposal for it, the East Shore Corridor Management Plan. It's more comprehensive in approach than previous proposals, and it addresses some of the various challenges around Highway 50. First of all, roundabouts. It proposes roundabouts at Lake Parkway and potentially Round Hill, as well as interactive speed signs and blinking chevrons for Pioneer Curve and Deadman's Curve. These are excellent measures to enhance safety and improve traffic flow. Second, off-road parking and smart signage. The addition of more off-road parking at Warrior Way and Kingsbury Parking Building, along with remote reservation capabilities and smart signage to indicate capacity, may greatly alleviate congestion and improve the visitor experience. And Douglas County has taken the lead in this in providing the parking at Warrior Way, which so far is very successful. Pedestrian and cyclist safety. The inclusion of several pedestrian islands around Cave Rock, side streets, improved lighting in the tunnel for bikers, and enlarged pullouts for tourists north of Cave Rock are positive steps towards enhancing pedestrian and cyclist safety. In addition, there are pedestrian tunnels planned. I don't know if they're really where they're going, but they're proposed on Warrior Way and Zephyr Cove Resort, which asks the question, why was there a traffic light put in if there are tunnels planned? So this needs clarification. There is a regional transportation hub suggested to be established on county property off Warrior Way. There are areas where I believe further consideration is necessary. The 2850 intersection, it is very disappointing to see no proposal for improvements there. It is a dangerous intersection. Bike lanes, there are still bike lanes parallel to Highway 50 in the plan, with concrete barriers at certain stretches. And I'm puzzled how Laura Drive, a private road, can be even considered as part of the bike lane from Round Hill to State Line, particularly with the added Barton Hospital project. Transparency and public involvement. The formation of a corridor management team that includes NDOT, TRPA, the Forest Service, Douglas County, and the Washoe Tribe is proposed. However, it is essential that the public is informed about the team members and has the opportunity to participate in their meetings. There needs to be greater transparency from all these agencies regarding the planning and execution of this project. Lastly, the most important safety feature is mentioned. It is a center lane on Highway 50 for turns and separation of direction, because a lot of crashes are lane departures. This is mentioned, but it's deemed not feasible because of the single reason, TRPA's objection. I think this needs to be re-examined. There is nothing in the Bi-State Compact that prohibits that. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Any other comment there in Carson City?
Not at this time.
Any comments here in Las Vegas? Seeing none. Anybody on the phone or
No, sir.
online?
No.
Oh, all right. We will close the second opportunity for public comment and move for adjournment. So moved.
I'll second.
We have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right, everybody. Thank you. Everybody have a great week.